everyone, it's Brian. It's day 2 of soup time. Not quite sure why I'm making soup today. It's been like 60 degrees here in Rhode Island, but go figure, that's New England for you. Today, I know yesterday I initially said that I was going to be making beef stew. I'm thinking I'm going to save that for a much colder day, maybe, I don't know, over the weekend or so. So I kind of decided to switch it up a little bit. Today I'm actually making Portuguese soup, which is really nothing more than kale, chilies, and potatoes. If you're from the New England area, you kind of know most of us, including myself, being Irish and living in New England, most soups have to contain potatoes. That's just kind of the way it is with us. But I want to kind of walk you through how I did this. I'm going to post the recipe afterwards, after the video's over, and because the camera's kind of far away, I can't really see who's online, so just keep them coming, whoever's online, and I'm going to kind of comment on all your posts afterwards. This way I can kind of, address them all one at a time. I want to kind of fast forward a little bit. What I basically have here is, I'm going to start the potatoes, so I'm going to kind of get those cooking first. I have 4 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes. Everybody has their favorites with potatoes. I tend to like Red Bliss and Yukon Gold. They're less starchy, less water, a little bit more dense, so they hold up to soups a little bit better. I actually had them, I peeled them, I diced them, I put them in the rice cooker, a Pampered Chef rice cooker. And the reason why I'm doing this is I'm going to actually microwave these. Now, if you don't have the Pampered Chef rice cooker, that's okay. You can just dice them and part boil them. That's the object here. But before I do, what I'm actually going to do, which is a little kind of a trick, is I'm going to take 2 cloves of garlic, and I'm going to actually peel them and slice them, and I'm going to put them in with the potatoes while they're cooking. This way they get a nice flavor of garlic to them, and then the whole thing is just going to go right into the soup. I'm going to kind of move this aside a little bit. This is our garlic peeler and slicer. I love this. It's a real simple process. It looks like a little cannoli shell. Don't try making cannolis with it. You will hurt yourself. But the bottom line is you take 2 cloves of garlic, stick them in the peeler. I'm doing them one at a time. You can do more than one. It's just mine happen to be kind of 2 different sizes, so I'm going to kind of do one at a time, okay? You just stick it in the tube, and you roll it like this. And then basically, you'll see what happens. The skin comes right off. I highly recommend, for those of you who may be buying garlic, pressed in a bottle, stay away from that stuff. Worst case scenario, or I should say the best case scenarios, you want to buy garlic that's already peeled. In a jar, no oil, no water, anything, and just kind of, you can freeze those, you can refrigerate those, they'll last for a long time. But just stay away from the ones that are already pressed, because ultimately they burn too fast. You have to add double the amount to get the same flavor of 1 clove. And in the end, you'll definitely taste the difference. Okay, so I'm going to kind of peel the second one. And there you go. Okay, peeled. Then I'm going to actually put it in the slicer. I'm going to do the first couple of pieces on the cutting board so you guys get to see what that looks like. But basically, this is what it looks like. 2-chamber system. Just drop the peeled garlic in there, and you're just going to turn this clockwise, and you see what happens. You actually are getting paper thin garlic. You would never get this consistency using a knife without losing some of your fingernails, especially you ladies, because you tend to have longer fingernails. Okay? So we're going to just take this, and we're going to just drop this right into the potatoes. Now there's no water, there's no liquid at all in here. So there you go. Get my knife. And then just throw that right in here. Now the reason why I kind of fast forwarded to the potatoes is because I'm going to put these in the microwave for about 13 minutes. We don't want them completely cooked. We want them partly cooked. Luckily my counter is right near my sink, so it goes right into the sink. Then what I have here is I have 8 cups of kale. I just pulled it off the stem, peeled, you know, the rough part of the stem out, and then just diced it. Good thing about kale is it's got a nice coarse stem to it. So when you buy it from the grocery store, you take it home. What you want to do is just take your knife. If you're not going to use it that day, take your knife and cut off the bottom of the stem. And then just stick it in a glass of water. The water has to cover the stem. It will stay in the refrigerator for about 4 or 5 days like that and still be perfectly fine. You want to do that to things like kale, scallions, even parsley. Basil, you can do the same thing, but you want to keep the basil outside of the refrigerator, okay? So I took the kale, chopped it apart, threw it into our salad spinner. I want to make sure this kale is nice and clean. I love this thing because it actually, excuse me, comes with 2 baskets, a cover, an 8-quart bowl, and basically this will actually dry all of your fruits, your vegetables, things of that nature. It's also really great for drying things like potatoes after you wash them, if you want to bake them. French fries after you've washed them, to get all the excess water off so they'll crisp up faster. You also want to kind of use something like this to ultimately dry out things that you really need to kind of dry out before you bake or fry. Things like pasta, that, well, obviously you're not going to fry that, but it'll get all the excess water off of that. Things like rice, you would just line the basket with paper towel, okay? But it comes with a cover. Basically, I'm just going to pull the top up, and then I'm going to just push the handle like this, okay? At its maximum speed, it goes 35 miles an hour. It's got a silicone-based bottom, so it's not going to slide. And it also has a brake. Trust me when I say this, I've learned the hard way. Push the brake before you pull the top. Otherwise, everything's going flying, okay? But you're going to kind of see what we have here when we take this basket out. There's all the water. I don't know if you can kind of see that. I know it's clear, okay? So we're just going to kind of put that there. I'm going to put the basket in here, back in here for a second, because what I want to show you is what we're actually making the soup in, okay? This is our 8-quart rock crock. I absolutely love this because it's so versatile. It can go in my freezer, it can go in my refrigerator, my microwave, my stovetop, in my oven, under the broiler, on my grill outside. This truly is a one-pot magic deal here. It's great for making soups, pastas, meatballs, big things like potato salad, things of that nature. I love it for actually doing things in the microwave. I know I'm an avid microwave cooker. I love doing that because, you know what? If I can get dinner on the table in 20 minutes, as opposed to 45 minutes, give me that 20 to 25 minutes every day, and I'm a happy camper. Okay, so in here, what I have, just so you guys kind of know, is I have 10 cups. You can do 10 to 12 depending on where, how big your pot is. 10 to 12 cups of water and about 2 cups of chicken stock. I'm an avid believer that chicken stock is always something you need to have on hand because chicken stock really flavors so many things. It's the start of so many things. And if you don't buy any of the cans, make your own. One of these days I'll post a recipe for that, but it's real simple to make. So what I have here is the water and the chicken stock. To that, I'm just going to add the kale. Now, it looks like a lot, but kale is very much like spinach. It's going to melt down when I put this back on the stove. And by the way, I did flavor this water with a little bit of salt and pepper. Okay? So it's back on the stove. And I'm just heating that up. Now, while it's kind of doing its thing, I took approximately 2 pounds. Now, where you go with the shitties is entirely up to you. We here in Rhode Island, for those of you who are watching who are not in Rhode Island, we have some great Portuguese bakeries who actually make this. So whenever possible, go to one of those stores, go to one of those bakeries, buy it fresh from them. It's a whole different world when you buy it fresh from them. Or if you have a store near you that you can buy it from, by all means buy it fresh as opposed to packaged. But what I basically did was, I opened the package, I opened the casing, because they kind of wrap it up nice for you. And what I did was I just cut off the 2 ends, just so that the knot is gone, because they have to knot it to kind of seal everything. Then I sliced it down the middle, and then I chunked it into bite-sized pieces. Now, what you consider to be bite-sized pieces may be different than what I do. We got big mouths in this house, so we tend to, I don't know, kind of make them a little bit bigger than maybe you would like them. So you want to chunk them, dice them, slice them, however you want to do that so that it's actually bite-sized, okay? I have about 2.5 pounds. You can add more, you can add less, that's entirely up to you. There's really no rhyme or reason here. Let's face it, folks, it's soup, okay? So you can kind of do it with however much or little you want. So I'm going to kind of keep that aside. And then what I have here is I have 2 pounds of kidney beans. You can buy fresh, you can buy canned. If you're going to buy canned, you're going to want to equate it to about 3.5 cups. I happen to have bought fresh. Obviously, if you buy fresh, it's a little bit more time consuming because you're going to have to put it in water, soak them overnight, drain them, and then pot boil them, okay? I tend to pot boil most of the things that go into the soup simply because I don't want all the starches in the soup. I want the soup to kind of like be able to ultimately stay in the refrigerator if there happen to be any leftovers, although in my house there's really not many leftovers. But ultimately, I want there to be leftovers, and I don't want that starch buildup. Okay, so I just have those in our one of our stainless colanders. I love stainless versus plastic, and the reason for that is plastic is very difficult to clean. Starch from the pasta, starch from all those other things actually builds up on the plastic, and although to the naked eye it looks like it's clean, it's really not, folks. So you want to kind of stay away from the plastic colanders. Basically, I've got the kale cooking, the potatoes are cooking. It's got about 4, maybe 4.5 minutes. I'm an avid believer with soup, and I don't really know where I learned this from. But basically, soup, you have to serve bread. I don't know why that is, but that's how I grew up and that's how I eat it. But basically, even though the soup's got potatoes in it, I've got bread here, okay? Well, all I did was I took some, you can do sourdough bread, you can do like a really crunchy, kind of crusty, rustic bread. I actually have ciabatta bread here, and all I did was I sliced off 4 slices. I can't slice more than 4 because the bottom line is the more bread we slice in this house, the more bread we're going to eat. So you use that to your judgment. I have our kitchen spritzer. It's filled with olive oil. I love this. I strongly recommend for those of you using pans, stop it. That's a whole other cooking class in itself. But the bottom line is you just pump it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray the bread. And this could be flavored olive oil. This one doesn't happen to be, but it can be. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically take our grill pan. This is our 11-inch grill pan. Love it. This gives me the opportunity to actually grill indoors, non-stick, lifetime warranty. Great for getting all the same results you'd get on your grill, but indoors. And for those of you that have big families, we have a double burner one. can see the difference. Makes about 4 burgers. This will do 8 whole meals in this with no problem whatsoever. So I'm going to heat up this pan on the stove. You want that pan to get really, really, really hot. Almost to the point where it's steaming. So that when the bread hits it, you get those nice grill marks on it. Looks like we got about 2 minutes left to the potatoes. I'm just going to kind of get my spoon out here. And just kind of dunk the cabbage, the kale down into the water. You can see it's already starting to, well, maybe you can't see it, but it's already starting to shrink. So we're going to kind of put that aside for a second. While this, I got about 2 minutes to go. A couple of things I want to kind of talk to you about in terms of kitchens, in terms of maximizing your time in the kitchen. You want to basically have everything at your reach. People say, oh, you know, when I'm building a house, I want a gourmet kitchen. I had it, and it's great. Don't get me wrong. But the object of your kitchen is to be functional. Yes, more and more people come and kind of, you know, stand around, and it becomes the social room of the house. If you got a dining room that connects to that, make the dining room the social room. The bottom line is kitchens have to be functional, and you kind of notice, although my kitchen is very small, for those of you who've been in my house, you think I cook up all these wonderful meals, I must have a huge kitchen. Well, you're wrong. I have a tiny kitchen, but it's functional, and that's the object. Everything I use on a daily basis is with arm's reach, and that's the way it should be. I don't want to spend 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, you know, fishing through things, trying to find things. And you see that recipe, it says, oh, prep time 20 minutes, and it takes you 15 minutes to actually find a measuring cup. Yeah, that's the stuff you don't want. So figure out how you cook, make those things in arm reach, or place them in arm's reach, and trust me when I say that your whole kitchen experience will be a lot smoother, a lot easier, and you'll find you want to kind of get back in the kitchen and create a little bit more, okay? Looks like we got about 10 seconds left for the potatoes. When those come out, I'm going to actually I'll show you what they look like. And they're going to be somewhat fork tender. They're not going to be completely done, because again, they're going to finish cooking in the soup. So there you have it. I love cooking potatoes in the microwave. No extra pan. Okay, and you kind of see they're fork tender. Okay. So now what I'm going to do with these is there's no liquid in here. I'm not going to have to rinse them. I don't have to do anything like that. I'm going to just dump these right in the soup. Kind of stir these around a little bit. And at this point, the kale is kind of wilted down really nicely. So what I'm going to do now is add the beans. And I'm going to add the chorizo. Now, I'm Irish. I may not be saying that right, and I apologize to all my Portuguese friends out there. I brutalize a lot of it, a lot of the Portuguese language. My biggest problem is, although I'm Irish, I've lived in many states, up north, down south. So I have this twang from all over the place. So I don't never, you know, that old saying is you don't really know where you are till you speak, or until people hear you speak. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I'm just going to clean up this mess. I'm going to see the pan here. It's really hot. The average rule of thumb with any pan on the stove is the pan should be hot before whatever you put in the pan goes in the pan. Okay? So, and that means any pan. No pan should go right onto the stove, and then the food go in the pan, and then the burner goes on. I mean, if you kind of think about it, most pans are stored in closets or cabinets, where when you pull the pan out, it tends to be not quite room temperature because it's a little bit cooler in those closets. So ultimately you want to bring it up to room temperature, and in most cases you want to kind of heat it up a little bit. So, and that goes for, especially when you want to sear things, grill things. The object of grilling things is, when it comes to meats, you want to kind of make sure they're perfectly dry. So take them out of the refrigerator at least 20 to 25 minutes before you actually decide you're going to cook them. Paper towel them dry so there's no excess oils, fats, blood on top of the meat, and then you'll get a perfect sear to that. So I'm going to take the pan off the grill. I'm going to kind of bring it over here so that you guys can possibly, I don't know, I'll shut up so you can see if you can hear it. No, I guess not. But ultimately you would hear a sear to it. I'm going to put this back on the stove. We're going to kind of see how the soup is doing. Now, I know the soup is not going to be completely done. But again, just like with the soup I made yesterday, I'm going to kind of plate it for you. I'm going to show you what it looks like done, or what it looks like when it's almost done. And then you get the gist of what it's going to look like afterwards, okay? But I'm going to just kind of let that bread grill on there. And I know I say this at my shows a lot. Whatever you put in the pan, like that bread, put it in the pan, leave it alone. Don't play with it. We New Englanders tend to play with our food a lot. And if you think I'm kidding on that one, next time you go out to the restaurant, just observe what's going on around you. Heavy conversations are going around you, but you can bet people have their forks in their hands and they're pushing their food around. We do the same thing at home. We tend to move things around, talk to people across the table when we're playing with our food. Stop playing with your food, folks, especially when it comes to on the stove. Trust everything's going to be fine as long as you're not in the other room having a conversation on the phone and you got something grilling. Leave it alone. Just kind of watch it, and you'll know the more you use your pans, or whatever pans they happen to be, how they work, how long it takes, okay? Basically, it looks like the bread on the grill pan is not going to take long, okay? But I'm just going to kind of put this dish together. And like I said, don't worry about writing down recipes. If you're trying to follow me along the way, I know I talk fast. Don't worry about that. I'm going to post a recipe afterwards, okay? Now, keep in mind, like I said, the soup itself is not done. So this bowl is going to go back into the pot. It takes about 25 minutes, 30 minutes, once everything is in there on a low simmer to kind of get everything fully cooked, but at least you get the idea. While I was there, I actually just flipped the bread. I'm not going to finish grilling the other side. I don't want to kind of keep you guys, but the object here is to get to see what that soup looks like. And this is really how I would serve it at my house. For those of you who have been in my house and actually had dinner at my house, you kind of see that, what I'm making here is exactly how I would serve it at my house, okay? And ultimately, there's the bread, and there's your soup. I don't know if you guys can see that. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Tomorrow's soup, I'm not sure. I'm thinking probably one of my favorites. It depends on the weather. One of my all-time favorites is potato and leek and sausage soup. It's kind of a take for those of you who've ever eaten at Olive Garden. It's kind of a take on their Tuscan soup, I think it's called. But I like it. I don't make it quite as creamy as them. But ultimately, I think that's what we'll be making tomorrow. And if you guys have any suggestion, I just seen somebody kind of popped in there. I think it was Sherry. She's looking for corn chowder. Am I right, Sherry? I can see that one. I can do that. I'm not a big fan of corn chowder. My partner Alan is, though, so I probably would make that. But again, any suggestions you guys may have, whether it be for a soup, any kind of dish you're looking for, put it out there on Facebook. Let me know. Ultimately, I'll be more than happy to kind of get the stuff together and make it for you. You know, in terms of whether I know the recipe or not, trust me, I'll create the recipe. I'll make the recipe. I'm not quite sure if you eat it the way I would make it, but the bottom line is the object here, folks, is you don't have to copy these recipes completely like I do. I put them out there to get you thinking. When it comes to certain foods at restaurants, I tend, when I go out to eat, to only buy or order what I know I can't or don't want to make at home. Most of the time, I'll kind of try that, taste it, maybe even make some notes, ask some questions, and then I try it at home. Then that's the object. The object is cook more at home, get more people involved. You'd be surprised, you know, even though, you know, it's not your thing. If you can get yourself to make, you know, 2, 3, 4 recipes, you know, your recipe portfolio does not have to consist of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of recipes. I've often said, learn 5 recipes, and then learn 5 ways to make those 5 recipes. So before you know it, although you may not consider yourself a cook, you've got 125 recipes to choose from. Okay? So again, I want to thank everybody for stopping by. I hope you try the soup at home. Make it. You'll love it. Any suggestions, by all means, let me know. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.